Recently, a video circulating online shows a grassroots Chinese Communist Party official saying that China has reached its darkest point and that everyone in China is cursing Xi Jinping. According to a video and screenshots posted on X by Luo Xiang on November 11th, a netizen submitted a report claiming that an insider from the system openly criticized Xi Jinping. The video shows a man suspected to be a local official with a Shandong accent questioning another man about why he was filing complaints and why he was confronting powerful people. The man being questioned responds that he hasn't offended anyone.
This has nothing to do with me, but they insist on destroying me because they think I've threatened their interests. But we're not even on the same level. How could I possibly harm their interests? I just want to reveal the truth.
The official, at first trying to mock him for thinking he could expose the truth in China, suddenly starts cursing Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping has taken too much money, he's done too many terrible things. Since he took office, tell me, has he done a single good thing for the Chinese people? He even changed the constitution. Now, everyone in China, from top to bottom in Beijing, is cursing this guy, right?
This isn't the first time something like this has surfaced. In 2023, a screenshot of a Beijing officer cursing Xi Jinping spread widely. A user named Gancheng Wang posted on June 8, 2023, that due to declining incomes, some Beijing police officers had started driving for ride-hailing services to make ends meet, and one officer spent the entire ride cursing the president. He's dragging the country backward. Even heaven and earth are angry, he said. The screenshot describes how a netizen hailed a Didi ride, only to find that the driver was an active-duty officer from Beijing's Dongcheng Public Security Bureau. The officer, who said he was just giving rides on the way home, and his father was also a Dongcheng officer, spent the entire drive venting his frustrations. As he dropped the passenger off, he even flashed the police uniform shirt he was wearing underneath, as if to emphasize that even within the police force, people were cursing the president. The post suggests that this is a sign that Xi's control over Beijing's security forces is shaky. It goes on to say, that's why they say Xi is surrounded by landmines. Who knows when one will go off? That's why he always has to use 2 drinking cups at meetings and wear bulletproof vests when he goes out. More and more people around him are turning against him. Another user added, I have a friend who works at a police station in Daxing. A few of us were drinking together, and he was cursing Xi even more harshly than we were. Lately, things haven't been going well for Xi Jinping. Not only are people across the country reportedly cursing him, but there are also rumors that he himself has been furious with 2 individuals. These past few days, a hot topic among Beijing officials has been Xi's state of mind since Trump took office. Trump has only been in office for a little over 2 weeks, but allegedly Xi Jinping has already been driven to the point of madness. Xi recently realized that nearly all the assessments he and his so-called think tanks made about Trump's second term were completely wrong. Because of this, he has been furiously berating Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Taiwan Affairs Office Director Song Tao. According to Australian-based Chinese affairs expert Yuan Hongbing, conscientious insiders within the CCP believe that these whispers in Beijing's political circles are not baseless rumors. Instead, they are deliberately leaked by people within the system who are deeply dissatisfied with Xi. By analyzing this information, one can get an accurate sense of the political dynamics at the highest levels of the CCP. There are unofficial rumors and inside information that circulate among government officials. These can involve personnel changes, policy directions, power struggles, or corrupt scandals. While not always entirely accurate, they often influence decision-making, relationships within the bureaucracy, and even public opinion. The main reason Xi Jinping is furious with Wang Yi is that his predictions about Trump's policies turned out to be completely wrong. Before Trump took office, Wang Yi had assured Xi that Trump, being a businessman, would be open to making deals. Based on this, Xi formulated China's overarching diplomatic strategy of struggle and engagement, meaning that while China would confront the U.S. in certain areas, it would also seek to negotiate and make deals where beneficial. However, in reality, after just 2 weeks in office, Trump showed no intention of making deals with Xi. Instead, he began laying the groundwork for an all-out confrontation with China across politics, military strategy, and diplomacy. First, one of China's key Middle Eastern allies, Iran, has been forced into retreat under Trump's pressure. Signs suggest Iran is looking to improve relations with the U.S. and distance itself from China. Second, Trump has openly stated his ambition to take control of Greenland and bring it under U.S. sovereignty. His reasoning is to block China's military strategy in the Arctic. China had already invested heavily in Greenland, funding influence campaigns and setting up scientific research stations, all of which are actually controlled by the Chinese military. Third, one of Trump's major moves was to impose tariffs on 3 countries: Mexico, Canada, and China. Mexico and Canada quickly caved to U.S. pressure and secured delayed sanctions through compromise, leaving China to face the brunt of the trade war alone. For Xi, these developments were completely unexpected and have thrown his entire strategic approach into disarray. On February 4th, the U.S. officially imposed additional tariffs on China, directly targeting the Chinese Communist Party. This makes it clear that Trump has no intention of making any meaningful deals with the CCP, let alone using Taiwan as a bargaining chip in negotiations. Wang Yi's assumption that Trump would be open to making deals has completely collapsed. Another reason is facing Xi's wrath is that he privately assured Xi that Japan's prime minister would attend the 9th Asian Winter Games in China. Instead, not only did the Japanese leader skip the event, he went instead to the U.S. to meet with Trump. For Xi, Japan is a crucial diplomatic target, and he had placed high hopes on forming a good relationship with the rumored pro-China politician Shigeru Ishiba. This diplomatic failure is a major embarrassment for Xi. Perhaps the most pressing issue for Xi Jinping right now is the Russia-Ukraine peace negotiations. According to the latest reports, both Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have signaled their willingness to begin discussions to end the war. This has made Xi extremely anxious, and he is desperately trying to insert himself into the negotiations. Sources in Beijing and Washington say that in recent weeks, CCP officials have reached out through intermediaries to propose that China arrange a meeting between Trump and Putin. They even suggested that China play a role in peacekeeping after a ceasefire. However, China's proposed U.S.-Russia summit notably excluded Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. When asked about this, the White House refused to confirm whether China had made such a proposal, simply responding that it was completely unworkable. U.S. officials have also stated that Trump's timeline for ending the Russia-Ukraine war has been delayed precisely because of China's strong support for Russia. Yuan Hongbing pointed out that not long ago, Xi Jinping, based on Wang Yi's advice, had made the Russia-Ukraine peace talks one of China's top diplomatic priorities. Xi had hoped to host a key negotiation in China, bringing together the U.S., Russia, and China. But now it's clear that not only is Trump ignoring China, but Russia also does not want Beijing involved. The CCP has been completely sidelined. The reality is that a U.S.-Russia-China summit in China is simply not going to happen. In fact, the entire Russia-Ukraine peace process is moving forward without China having any role at all. Wang Yi seriously misjudged Russia, thinking that China and Russia's interests were tightly bound together. In reality, that's not the case. Russia has only maintained the appearance of a strong relationship with China to gain leverage in its negotiations with the U.S., but now that Trump has put forward concrete proposals to end the war, Russia has no interest in letting China be part of the peace talks. The massive miscalculation has caused a major embarrassment for Xi Jinping, and there are reports that he's nearly losing his mind over it. As for why Xi is furious with Song Tao, the head of China's Taiwan Affairs Office, it's because he believes Song has been completely ineffective in dealing with Taiwan's recent political turmoil. Yuan Hongbing revealed that Xi had ordered his team to disrupt Taiwan's legislative yuan, pushing through unconstitutional and chaotic legislation aimed at undermining the administrative efficiency and governance of Lai Ching-te's government. The goal was to destabilize Taiwan's legal system. However, Taiwan has launched a major political movement called the Recall Campaign. Led by DPP caucus leader Ko Chien-ming, this movement was publicly announced on January 4th, calling on the public to recall Legislative Yuan Speaker Han Kuo-yu, Deputy Speaker Chiang Chi-chen, and all 41 KMT district legislators. By early February, the first phase of signature collection for nearly 20 recall cases had met the required threshold. This has gained widespread attention in Taiwan's political scene and signals a broader political awakening across Taiwanese society. This also means that the astronomical sums the CCP spend on influencing Taiwan's legislature are now at serious risk. The KMT legislators that Beijing worked so hard to cultivate are facing an unprecedented crisis. If the recall movement continues, the KMT's chances of regaining power in Taiwan could be completely destroyed. Xi is furious, blaming Song Tao for failing to deliver results. Xi's troubles don't end there. On February 11th, the U.S. Navy confirmed that 2 warships had transited the Taiwan Strait, calling it a routine operation. This marks the first such maneuver since Trump took office. According to the U.S. Navy, the vessels involved were the USS Ralph Johnson, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, the USNS Bowditch, geographic survey ship. Between February 10th and 12th, they conducted a north-to-south transit through the Taiwan Strait. U.S. Indo-Pacific Command spokesperson, Navy Commander Matthew Comer said, "The transit occurred through a corridor in the Taiwan Strait that is beyond any coastal state's territorial seas. Within this corridor, all nations enjoy high sea freedoms of navigation, overflight, and other internationally lawful uses of the sea related to these freedoms." For years, U.S. Navy ships have periodically transited the Taiwan Strait, sometimes alongside Allied warships. Each time Western naval forces pass through the strait, Beijing expresses its displeasure. This particular transit is especially sensitive, as it coincides with the U.S. and Russia announcing formal negotiations to end the war in Ukraine, while deliberately excluding China. This suggests that if the U.S. and Russia successfully conclude their talks, there remains a possibility that they could align against China in the future. Commentator Wu Jianmin noted that within just 2 weeks of taking office, President Trump has already signed over 80 executive orders, 1/3 of which were directly related to China. This flurry of actions signals a broad reckoning against Xi Jinping, targeting everything from CCP infiltration within U.S. society to China's responsibility for the global COVID-19 pandemic. On January 30th, 2025, Trump officially signed an executive order launching a large-scale crackdown on pro-Hamas forces within the U.S. The order specifically targets foreign students and visa holders involved in anti-Semitic movements, calling for the immediate revocation of their visas, barring them from re-entry, and in some cases, mandating deportation. This executive order is not only aimed at radical left-wing movements within the U.S., but is also widely interpreted as Trump's first major action against CCP influence in American society. According to U.S. intelligence agencies, the pro-Hamas demonstrators have covert backing from the Chinese Communist Party, which has been using financial support, organizational efforts, and media influence to destabilize American society and weaken U.S. global influence. Since Hamas's October 7, 2023 terrorist attack on Israel, U.S. university campuses have seen waves of pro-Palestinian and anti-Semitic protests, with reports of Jewish students facing threats and violence. Trump's executive order states, "Immediate action will be taken by the Department of Justice to protect law and order, quell pro-Hamas vandalism and intimidation, and investigate and punish anti-Jewish racism in leftist anti-American colleges and universities." As a result, the executive order specifically targets foreign students involved in these movements, particularly the so-called Little Pinks or nationalistic youth from mainland China. These individuals have openly expressed support for Hamas through social media and protests, even attacking the U.S. government. During this crackdown, a Chinese student named Liu Lijun became the center of public attention. She was pursuing a degree at UCLA and was arrested by police during a pro-Palestinian protest in May 2024. What shocked many was that she deliberately disguised herself as a Muslim woman, wearing a headscarf and mask to conceal her identity. However, upon her arrest, her Asian identity was immediately exposed, and footage of the incident quickly spread online. At the time, Fox News ran a special report on her case, naming Liu Lijun as a prime example of the CCP infiltration in American universities. With Trump's deportation order now in effect, Liu and her associates are certain to be sent back to China. This incident is just the tip of the iceberg. As early as late 2023, the U.S. think tank, the Institute for Network Contagion Research, published a report revealing the CCP's strategy of funding far-left organizations to launch anti-Semitic and pro-Palestinian movements on American campuses. These movements are, in reality, part of the CCP's long-term infiltration efforts in the U.S. Beyond cracking down on pro-Hamas forces within the U.S., the Trump administration's next step is to hold the CCP accountable for its role in the COVID-19 pandemic. On January 27th, the state of Missouri formally filed a lawsuit against the Chinese government, accusing the CCP of covering up the outbreak, hoarding protective equipment, and causing immense losses to the American people. The lawsuit seeks $25 billion in damages. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey stated at a press conference, "Missouri is the only state in the nation to file suit to hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for causing and exacerbating COVID-19. We feel confident that we will collect on the $25 billion we're demanding in damages, and if China refuses to pay up, we will seize Chinese assets instead." The lawsuit not only targets the Chinese government, but could set off a global wave of similar legal actions. If Missouri wins, other states, and possibly the entire federal government could follow suit, putting the CCP under enormous financial pressure, potentially facing claims in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, newly appointed CIA Director John Ratcliffe publicly stated on January 25th that the COVID-19 virus came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This statement marks the U.S. intelligence community's official move to hold the Chinese government accountable. Whether the virus was accidentally leaked or deliberately released, the CCP can no longer evade responsibility. This also paves the way for the U.S. government to take further actions against China. U.S. prosecutors have already begun preparing legal action against the CCP and are considering issuing international arrest warrants for key figures at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, including Shi Zhengli and Wang Yanyi. If this action moves forward, it would signify an unprecedented international reckoning for Xi Jinping's government. Beyond directly confronting the CCP, the Trump administration is also targeting traitors within the U.S., particularly American officials with close ties to Beijing. Former NIH Director Anthony Fauci had, prior to the COVID-19 outbreak, facilitated U.S. government funding for the Wuhan Institute of Virology and collaborated on multiple research projects with CCP virologists. Upon taking office, Trump immediately revoked Fauci's government security protection, cutting off the $15 million security budget provided by the previous administration. Analysts predict that Fauci will soon face criminal charges, from expelling Chinese students to a global reckoning over COVID-19, and now holding U.S. insiders accountable for their ties to Beijing. The Trump administration has launched a full-scale offensive against Xi Jinping. This purge has only just begun, and it will be difficult for Xi to escape unscathed. The CCP's international standing is also set to deteriorate further. In the coming months, the U.S.-China trade war is expected to escalate. How the relationship between the two nations will unfold remains to be seen, and the world will be watching closely.